Millionaire widower walks with his daughter, sees young woman's car with a flat tire, and says, "Before we get into it, if this video found you at the right moment, let me know with your favorite emoji." The autumn leaves crunched beneath their feet as Michael Harrison walked hand in hand with his 7-year-old daughter Emma through Central Park. At 42, the tech entrepreneur had everything money could buy, yet the emptiness in his chest remained as vast as the day cancer took his beloved wife Sarah. 3 years ago, "Daddy, look at the pretty lady." Emma pointed toward the park's edge where a sleek BMW sat disabled, its hazard lights blinking desperately. A young woman with cascading auburn hair stood beside the vehicle, her designer heels clearly not meant for tire changing. She wore a navy business suit that suggested success, but her frustrated expression revealed vulnerability beneath the polished exterior. Michael's protective instincts kicked in immediately. "Stay close, sweetheart. We're going to help her." As they approached, the woman looked up with relief flooding her emerald eyes. "Oh, thank goodness. I've been here for 20 minutes, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I'm Michael, and this is Emma," he said warmly, already rolling up his sleeves. "Car trouble?" "Jessica Morrison," she replied, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear nervously. "Flat tire. And apparently I'm completely useless with anything mechanical." Emma giggled. "Daddy fixes everything. He fixed my dollhouse when the roof fell off." Michael felt something stir in his chest, something he hadn't experienced since Sarah's death. Jessica's laugh was musical, genuine, completely different from the calculated social interactions he'd grown accustomed to in his wealthy circles. "Well then, I'm in excellent hands," Jessica said, crouching to Emma's level. "That's a beautiful necklace you're wearing. Mommy gave it to me," Emma said proudly, touching the small heart pendant. "She's in heaven now, but Daddy says she watches over us." Michael tensed, waiting for the usual awkward response, but Jessica's expression softened with genuine compassion. "She must have been very special, and she was right to give you something so beautiful. It matches your smile perfectly." As Michael worked on the tire, Jessica entertained Emma with stories about her work as an art curator, making the little girl laugh with animated descriptions of sculpture installations gone wrong. There was no pity in her eyes when she looked at them, just warmth and authentic interest. "There," Michael said, wiping his hands on a cloth. "Good as new, but you should get it properly patched tomorrow." Jessica's hand briefly touched his as she took the cloth, and both felt the unexpected electricity. "I don't know how to thank you. Can I buy you both lunch? There's a wonderful cafe just around the corner." Emma bounced excitedly. "Can we, Daddy, please?" Michael found himself nodding, surprising himself for the first time in 3 years. The walls around his heart showed the tiniest crack. Over sandwiches and hot chocolate, Jessica learned that Michael had built his software company from nothing, and Michael discovered that Jessica had moved to New York just 6 months ago to escape a suffocating relationship in Chicago. She spoke passionately about bringing art to communities that couldn't usually access it, her eyes lighting up with purpose. "You have chocolate on your nose," Emma giggled, pointing at Jessica. As Jessica laughed and wiped it away, Michael felt his carefully constructed world shift slightly. This woman wasn't impressed by his wealth or trying to position herself advantageously. She was simply present, real, alive in a way that made him remember what happiness felt like. But as they prepared to part ways, Michael's old fears crept back in. He'd built walls for good reasons. Emma had already lost one mother. He couldn't risk her heart being broken again, and his own heart. It barely survived Sarah's loss. "This was wonderful," Jessica said, genuinely reluctant to leave. "Maybe we should go," Michael said abruptly, his voice cooling. "Emma has piano lessons." The light in Jessica's eyes dimmed slightly, but she smiled at Emma. "It was lovely meeting you, sweetheart." As they walked away, Emma tugged his hand. "I liked her, Daddy. She made me laugh like Mommy used to." Michael's step faltered, out of the mouths of babes. But admitting that Jessica had awakened something in him felt like betraying Sarah's memory. Some walls, he told himself, existed for protection. Behind them, Jessica watched until they disappeared, touching her lips where she could still taste the sweetness of unexpected possibility. 3 weeks passed, and Michael couldn't shake the memory of Jessica's laugh or the way Emma had lit up in her presence. He found himself taking detours through Central Park, telling himself it was for Emma's benefit, but secretly hoping for another chance encounter. Jessica, meanwhile, threw herself into organizing her first major exhibition at the Morrison Gallery, a showcase of emerging artists from underprivileged communities. But even surrounded by breathtaking artwork, she couldn't forget the kindness in Michael's eyes or the way he transformed from confident businessman to protective father in an instant. "You've been distracted all week," her assistant Marcus observed, watching Jessica rearrange the same painting for the third time. "And you keep checking your phone like you're expecting someone to call." Jessica sighed. "It's nothing. Just met someone interesting a few weeks ago." "The mysterious tire-changing prince?" "You mentioned him exactly once and then clammed up completely before Jessica could respond. Her phone buzzed with an unknown number. Her heart skipped as she read the text. "Emma keeps asking about the nice art lady. Would you like to see her gallery exhibition?" Michael, her fingers trembled slightly as she typed back. "I'd love to meet Emma again. Exhibition opens Saturday at 7 p.m. Morrison Gallery on 5th Avenue." Michael stared at his phone for a full minute before showing the address to his driver. He'd spent 3 weeks fighting this attraction, telling himself it was too soon, too risky, too complicated. But Emma's innocent questions about the pretty lady who made us laugh had worn down his defenses. Saturday evening arrived with the first snow of the season. Michael adjusted his tie nervously as they entered the gallery, Emma's hand warm in his. The space buzzed with art enthusiasts, wine glasses clinking, sophisticated conversations flowing. "Daddy, it's like a fancy museum," Emma whispered, eyes wide at the colorful paintings and sculptures. Jessica spotted them immediately, her professional composure melting into genuine joy. She wore an elegant black dress that highlighted her natural beauty, but it was her smile that stopped Michael's breath. "You came," she said softly, approaching them with obvious relief. "We promised," Michael replied, then caught himself using we. When had he started thinking of himself and Emma as a unit that made decisions together? Jessica knelt to Emma's level, producing a small sketch pad and colored pencils from seemingly nowhere. "I thought you might like to create your own art while we walk around. This is how real artists start, by observing and drawing what they see." Emma beamed, clutching the supplies like treasure. "Can I draw you, Miss Jessica? I'd be honored to be your first portrait subject." As they moved through the exhibition, Jessica explained each piece with passion and accessibility that even Emma could understand. She told stories about the artist, a teenager who painted murals in subway tunnels, a grandmother who sculpted with recycled materials, a former gang member who found healing through photography. "Art isn't just about beauty," Jessica explained to Emma, who listened with rapt attention. "It's about telling stories, sharing feelings, and helping people understand each other better." Michael found himself captivated not just by Jessica's knowledge, but by her genuine care for the artist and her ability to connect with Emma so naturally. When Emma wandered ahead to examine a particularly colorful sculpture, Jessica touched his arm gently. "She's remarkable, Michael. You've raised an amazing little girl." "She likes you," he said simply. "That's significant. Emma doesn't warm up too many people since her mother died." Jessica's eyes filled with understanding. "Losing a parent changes everything. I lost my father when I was 12. The world suddenly feels less safe, less predictable. I worry constantly that I'm not enough for her," Michael admitted, surprising himself with the honesty, "that she needs things I can't give her. She needs love, security, and someone who believes in her dreams," Jessica said softly. "From what I can see, she has all of that." Their moment was interrupted by Emma's excited voice. "Daddy, Miss Jessica, look what I drew." The sketch showed 3 figures holding hands under a sunny sky, a tall man, a woman with long hair, and a small girl with pigtails above them. "She'd drawn a heart with angel wings. That's us," Emma announced proudly, "and that's Mommy watching over us from heaven, making sure we're happy." Michael's throat tightened with unexpected emotion. Jessica knelt beside Emma, her voice gentle. "It's the most beautiful drawing I've ever seen. You're a true artist." As the evening wound down, Michael found himself reluctant to leave. Jessica had introduced Emma to several young artists who'd patiently shown her different techniques and encouraged her creativity. For the first time since Sarah's death, Emma was in an environment that nourished her spirit rather than simply occupying her time. "Thank you for tonight," Michael said as they prepared to leave. "Emma hasn't been this excited about anything in months." Jessica smiled, but he could see the question in her eyes, the same question he'd been asking himself all evening. "Where do we go from here? Maybe Emma would like art lessons." Jessica suggested carefully. "I know an excellent children's instructor who." "I'd like that," Michael said, then took a breath. "And maybe you'd like to have dinner sometime, without the gallery crowd?" The hope that bloomed in Jessica's face answered his question before her words did. I'd like that very much. 2 months into their careful courtship, Michael and Jessica had established a routine of weekend outings and Wednesday dinners. Emma adored her art lessons and had begun referring to Jessica as my artist friend, with proprietary pride, but Michael still maintained careful boundaries, never staying too late, never allowing the relationship to feel too permanent. On a crisp December morning, Jessica planned something special. She'd noticed Emma's fascination with the gallery's sculpture garden and decided to surprise her with a private art lesson among the snow-dusted installations. Close your eyes until we get there, Jessica instructed as they walked through the gallery's back entrance. Michael carried a thermos of hot chocolate while Emma clutched her ever-present sketchpad. Can I look now? Emma bounced with anticipation. Now, Jessica said, and Emma's gasp of delight made both adults smile. The sculpture garden had been transformed into a winter wonderland. String lights twinkled among the bare tree branches, and each sculpture wore a delicate coating of fresh snow. Jessica had set up a small easel and arranged art supplies on a weather-resistant table. Today we're going to paint winter magic, Jessica announced. But first, we need to really see it. Look at how the snow changes the shapes of everything. Emma immediately began exploring, pointing out how the snow made the bronze dancer look like she was wearing a fluffy tutu, and how the abstract metal sculpture now resembled a crystal palace. Michael watched Jessica guide his daughter with infinite patience, showing her how to mix colors to capture the subtle blues and grays of winter shadows. There was something profound about seeing Emma so engaged, so creatively alive. She has real talent, Jessica murmured to Michael as Emma worked intently on her painting. Have you considered enrolling her in a formal art program? I want her to have every opportunity, Michael replied, but I also want her childhood to feel normal, not pressured. Jessica nodded thoughtfully. The best gift we can give children is the confidence to explore their passions without fear of failure. The word we hung in the air between them, unplanned but significant. They've been dancing around the implications of their growing closeness for weeks. Emma looked up from her painting, a streak of blue paint on her cheek. Miss Jessica, are you going to be my mommy? The question hit both adults like a thunderbolt. Michael felt his protective walls slam back into place, while Jessica's heart ached with longing she couldn't express. Sweetie, Michael said carefully, Jessica is our very good friend. That's a special thing all by itself. Emma's face fell slightly, but I dreamed about it. And in my dream, Mommy said it was okay because she wants us to be happy. Jessica's eyes filled with tears she couldn't hide. She knelt beside Emma, choosing her words carefully. Your mommy will always be your mommy, sweetheart. No one could ever take her place, but friends can love each other in lots of different ways. Can I love you like family? Emma asked with the devastating honesty of childhood. You can love however feels right in your heart, Jessica whispered. Later, after Emma had fallen asleep in the car on the way home, Michael and Jessica stood in his apartment's foyer, the weight of unspoken words between them. She's getting attached, Michael said, his voice strained. Maybe we should slow things down. Is that what you want? Jessica asked quietly, or is that fear talking? Michael's jaw tightened. I won't let her be hurt again. Losing her mother nearly destroyed her. If this doesn't work out, and if it does work out, Jessica stepped closer. Michael, I'm falling in love with both of you. I can't help it, and I won't apologize for it. But I need to know if you're capable of letting that happen. The vulnerability in her voice broke something open in Michael's chest. For weeks, he'd been fighting his growing feelings, telling himself it was too soon, too risky. But seeing Jessica with Emma today, watching the natural love flow between them, had shattered his carefully maintained distance. I'm terrified, he admitted. Sarah was my everything. The idea of loving someone else feels like betraying her memory. Jessica took his hands gently. Love isn't betrayal, Michael. It's Sarah's greatest gift to you, the capacity to love deeply. She wouldn't want you to bury that with her. Michael pulled Jessica into his arms, finally allowing himself to feel the full force of what had been building between them. When he kissed her, it tasted like forgiveness, like permission, like coming home. I love you, he whispered against her lips. God help me, I love you both. Jessica smiled through her tears, then stopped fighting it. Let yourself be happy. Let Emma be happy. Let us be a family. But even as they held each other, both knew that saying the words was only the beginning. Building a life together would require navigating grief, healing old wounds, and learning to trust and love again. Emma's innocent question had forced them to face the future they'd been afraid to imagine. Outside, snow continued to fall, covering the city in fresh possibilities. Spring arrived with a burst of color that matched Emma's excitement. About her upcoming 8th birthday, she'd been planning her party for weeks, creating elaborate guest lists that always included Miss Jessica at the very top. But Michael sensed something deeper in his daughter's anticipation, a hope that this birthday might mark the beginning of something permanent. Jessica had moved closer, renting a charming brownstone just 8 blocks from Michael's penthouse. Their relationship had deepened into something profound yet unspoken. They were a family in everything but name. Emma spent most afternoons at Jessica's art studio, and Jessica had quietly integrated into their daily routines. But Michael's sister Patricia had other ideas about his life. "You're moving too fast," Patricia declared during her surprise visit from Boston at 55. She was everything Jessica wasn't: practical, reserved, and deeply skeptical of anyone who might threaten the Harrison family fortune. Emma needs stability, not another potential loss, Patricia continued, watching her brother's face carefully. "What do you really know about this woman? You've been widowed for 3 years, Michael. You're vulnerable." Michael bristled. "Jessica isn't some gold digger, Pat. She runs her own successful gallery, which she opened 6 months before meeting you," Patricia pointed out. "How convenient." That evening, Patricia insisted on joining them for dinner, ostensibly to get to know Jessica better. But Michael recognized his sister's interrogation tactics from their shared childhood. "So Jessica," Patricia began over appetizers, "tell me about your family background." Jessica set down her fork, sensing the underlying tension. "My parents were middle-class teachers in Chicago. My father died when I was 12, and my mother raised me alone. I put myself through art school working 3 jobs." "And your previous relations?" "Hips," Michael intervened. "Pat, it's okay," Jessica said calmly. "I was engaged to someone in Chicago. Richard was controlling. He wanted me to give up my career aspiration. I realized I was losing myself, so I ended it and moved here for a fresh start." Emma, oblivious to the adult undercurrents, chattered happily about her latest art project. "Miss Jessica is teaching me about perspective. Look, I drew our apartment building and see how the windows get smaller as they go up." Patricia examined the drawing with grudging approval. "That's quite sophisticated for someone your age." "Miss Jessica says I have natural talent," Emma beamed. "She's going to help me apply to special art camps this summer." Michael felt a stab of something, not quite jealousy, but a recognition that Jessica was making long-term plans that included Emma, plans they hadn't discussed. After dinner, while Emma showed Patricia her art portfolio, Jessica pulled Michael aside. "Your sister doesn't trust me," she said quietly. "Patricia doesn't trust anyone," Michael replied, but Jessica heard the doubt creeping into his voice. "She thinks I'm after your money." Michael's hesitation lasted a fraction too long. "Of course not. I know you better than that." But Jessica caught the pause, and something cold settled in her stomach. "Do you? Because suddenly you look like you're wondering the same thing." "I'm not wondering anything," Michael said, but his tone had become guarded. We haven't talked about the future, about what this is becoming. What do you want it to become?" Before Michael could answer, Emma ran over. "And Patricia wants to know if Miss Jessica is going to be at my birthday party." Patricia approached with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm sure Jessica is very busy with her gallery work." "Actually," Jessica said, meeting Patricia's gaze directly, "I wouldn't miss Emma's birthday for anything. Unless, of course, Michael would prefer I not be there." The adults all looked at Michael, waiting. Emma's face was bright with expectation, Patricia's cold with challenge, and Jessica's carefully neutral despite the hurt in her eyes. "Of course you'll be there," Michael said, but the moment of hesitation had already done its damage. Later that night, after Patricia had returned to her hotel and Emma was asleep, Jessica confronted the growing distance she felt from Michael. "What changed tonight?" she asked as they sat in his living room, the space between them feeling suddenly vast. Michael struggled with honesty. "Patricia made some points about moving too fast, about Emma getting too attached, about me being a fortune hunter. I never said that. You didn't have to." Jessica stood, gathering her purse. "Michael, I've never asked you for anything. I pay for my own meals. I buy Emma's art supplies with my own money. I've never even been inside your home office. But your sister spent one evening with us and suddenly you're questioning my motives. It's not that simple." "Yes, it is." Jessica's voice was quiet but firm. "You either trust me or you don't. You either want a future with me or you don't. But I won't spend my life proving my worth to someone who's looking for reasons to doubt me." As she reached the door, Michael called out, "Jessica, wait." She turned back, hope flickering in her eyes. "Emma's birthday is in 3 days. Can we just get through that first?" The hope died. Of course, for Emma. After Jessica left, Michael stood at his window overlooking Central Park. Remembering the day they'd met, Patricia's words echoed in his mind, mixing with his own fears about vulnerability, about risking Emma's heart again, about whether he was being a fool or a coward. 3 blocks away, Jessica sat in her empty brownstone, staring at the birthday present she commissioned for Emma, a custom easel engraved with "For Emma, my favorite artist," and the date. She'd imagined presenting it as a family, celebrating not just Emma's birthday, but their own growing bond. Now she wondered if she'd imagined everything. Emma's 8th birthday dawned bright and clear, but the Harrison penthouse felt heavy with unspoken tension. Jessica arrived precisely on time, her smile warm for Emma, but carefully polite toward Michael. She carried the custom easel wrapped in cheerful paper, her heart aching as Emma's face lit up with pure joy. "Miss Jessica, you came. I wasn't sure because Daddy seemed worried about something. I promised I'd be here, sweetheart," Jessica said, shooting a meaningful look at Michael. "Wild horses couldn't keep me away." The party proceeded with forced normalcy. Patricia had flown in specifically for the occasion, bringing an expensive doll that Emma politely thanked her for before returning to her art supplies. Other guests included Emma's school friends and their parents, most of whom knew Jessica well from months of school pickups and playdates. "Jessica's wonderful with Emma," commented Sarah Chen, mother of Emma's best friend. "Emma talks about her constantly. You're so lucky to have found someone who loves your daughter as much as you do." Michael felt the words like a physical blow. Here was the truth he'd been running from. Jessica did love Emma, genuinely and completely, and Emma loved her back with the fierce loyalty of a child who'd found someone who truly understood her. When Emma opened Jessica's gift, her shriek of delight silenced the entire party. The custom easel was perfect, child-sized but professional quality, with a built-in storage compartment and adjustable height that would grow with her. "Look, Daddy, it has my name on it and everything." Emma threw her arms around Jessica. "This is the best present ever. Now I can paint real paintings like a real artist." Patricia's expression softened despite herself. This wasn't the gift of someone trying to buy affection. It was thoughtful, personal, and clearly chosen by someone who knew Emma intimately. But the moment that changed everything came during the cake ceremony. Emma stood on her chair to make her wish, closing her eyes tight and concentrating with 8-year-old solemnity. "What did you wish for, sweetheart?" Michael asked as she blew out the candles. Emma grinned at him, then at Jessica. "I can't tell you, or it won't come true. But it's about our family." The word hung in the air like a challenge. Patricia looked uncomfortable. Michael appeared stricken, and Jessica's eyes filled with tears she couldn't hide. After the last guest left, Emma insisted on showing Jessica her art room, proudly displaying every piece she created over the past months. Patricia and Michael found themselves alone in the living room, surrounded by birthday wrapping paper and the echo of Emma's laughter from down the hall. "That woman loves your daughter," Patricia said quietly, her earlier hostility replaced by reluctant admiration. "I know," Michael replied, his voice heavy. "And Emma loves her back. I haven't seen Emma this happy since, well, since before Sarah got sick." Michael nodded, unable to speak. "I was wrong," Patricia continued, the admission clearly difficult for her. "I thought I was protecting you both from another potential loss, but I was really protecting myself from watching you take the risk of loving again. What if it doesn't work out?" Michael asked. "What if I mess this up and Emma loses another mother figure?" "What if it does work out?" Patricia countered. "What if you're throwing away the best thing that's happened to either of you because you're too scared to take the chance?" From down the hall, they could hear Jessica reading Emma's story, their voices blending in easy harmony. It sounded like home, like family, like everything Michael had been afraid to want. "Sarah would hate me for keeping Emma from this kind of happiness," Michael realized aloud. "Sarah would hate you for letting fear make your decisions," Patricia corrected. "She was the bravest person I knew, and she fell in love with your courage. Don't dishonor her memory by becoming a coward." When Jessica emerged from Emma's room an hour later, she found Michael alone on the terrace, staring out at the city lights. Patricia had left with promises to call soon and an awkward but sincere apology to Jessica for her earlier suspicion. "She's asleep," Jessica reported, maintaining her careful distance. "She wanted me to tell you that this was her best birthday ever." "Jessica, Michael began, then stopped, struggling with words that felt too small for what he needed to say. I should go, Jessica said. It's been a long day. Don't. The word came out more forcefully than he'd intended. Please don't go. Not yet. Jessica waited, her heart hammering against her ribs. I've been a fool, Michael said finally, turning to face her. Worse than a fool. I've been a coward. I let my fear of losing you convince me to push you away instead. Michael, I love you, he said simply. I love how you make Emma laugh. I love how you see art in everything. I love how you never try to replace Sarah's memory, but honor it by helping Emma grow into the amazing person she's becoming. I love your strength, your passion, your ridiculous inability to change a tire. Jessica's laugh was watery with unshed tears. I love you, he repeated, stepping closer. And I want to marry you. I want Emma to have the mother she's been wishing for. I want us to be the family we already are in our hearts. Jessica stared at him, hardly daring to breathe. Will you marry me? The words tumbled out inelegantly, nothing like the smooth proposal he'd practiced in his head. Jessica's answer came in the form of her arms around his neck, her lips on his, and the whispered yes that changed everything. Inside, Emma smiled in her sleep, somehow knowing that her birthday wish had come true. 6 months later, on a perfect October morning, Jessica Morrison became Jessica Harrison in an intimate ceremony in the same Central Park. Where they'd first met, Emma served as the flower girl, wearing a dress she'd helped design and carrying a bouquet of autumn leaves painted with watercolors. The wedding was small but meaningful, just family and close friends. Gathered under the golden canopy of fall foliage, Patricia stood as Michael's witness, having undergone a complete transformation in her attitude toward Jessica. Marcus, Jessica's assistant and closest friend, walked her down the aisle in the absence of her father. But the most touching moment came during the vows. When Michael and Jessica turned to include Emma in their promises, Emma, Michael said, kneeling to her level, Jessica and I promise to love and take care of you together. We promise to support your dreams, celebrate your victories, and help you through any challenges. Jessica added, and Emma, I promise to be the best stepmother I can be. I'll never try to replace your first mommy, but I hope I can earn the right to be your second mommy. Emma's response brought tears to every eye present. I promise to love you both and be the best daughter I can be. And I promise to paint you pictures of our family so we never forget how happy we are right now. The reception was held at Jessica's gallery, now renamed Morrison Harrison Contemporary Arts. The space had been transformed, with Emma's artwork displayed alongside pieces by established artists, a visual representation of how art had brought them together and would continue to bind them. As a family, Dr. Elizabeth Hayes, the child psychologist who'd helped Emma process her grief after Sarah's death, watched the celebration with professional satisfaction. She'd worried about Emma's attachment to Jessica, but seeing them interact now, she recognized something beautiful and healthy, a child who'd learned that love multiplies rather than divides. You did good, Harrison, she told Michael during a quiet moment. Emma's resilience amazes me. She's found a way to honor her first mother while embracing her second one. Michael watched Emma teaching Jessica's elderly aunt how to finger paint, both of them covered in colorful streaks and giggling like children. Jessica made it easy. She never competed with Sarah's memory. She just added her own light to our lives. As the evening wound down, Emma insisted on giving a speech. Standing on a chair with paint-stained fingers and fierce determination, she addressed the small crowd. Thank you all for coming to see Daddy and Jessica get married. I'm really happy because now Jessica is officially my family, but she was already my family in my heart. My first mommy Sarah is watching from heaven, and I think she's happy too, because she wanted us to be loved. Now I have two mommies, one in heaven and one right here, and that makes me the luckiest girl in the world. The applause was thunderous despite the small crowd. Jessica wiped away happy tears while Michael pulled both his girls into a hug. That felt like coming home. Later that night, after Emma had fallen asleep between them on the couch, a temporary arrangement while they transitioned to their new life together, Michael and Jessica sat in comfortable silence, still wearing their wedding clothes, still hardly believing their happiness was real. Are you nervous? Jessica asked softly. About all of this becoming official, Michael considered the question seriously. 6 months ago, he would have been terrified. The fear of loss, the weight of responsibility, the complexity of blending their lives would have overwhelmed him. Strangely, no, he said finally, I feel like we've been a family for months already. Today just made it legal. Jessica smiled, playing with her new wedding ring. Emma asked me yesterday if I was going to change my mind about loving her. What did you tell her? I told her that love isn't something you change your mind about. It's something that changes your heart permanently. Once you love someone the way I love her, that love becomes part of who you are forever. Michael pulled Jessica closer, marveling at how perfectly she fit against his side. Sarah would have loved you know. She always said that love was the only thing that multiplied when you shared it. I feel her blessing, Jessica whispered, especially when Emma tells stories about her. I'm not replacing Sarah. I'm continuing the love story she started. As they carried Emma to her new bedroom, in what was now officially their shared home, Michael reflected on the journey that had brought them here. A flat tire, a chance encounter, a gradual breaking down of walls built from grief and fear. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, the daily negotiations of blended family life, the ongoing process of healing old wounds while building new dreams. But tonight, as he tucked Emma into bed and kissed his wife goodnight, Michael Harrison felt something he hadn't experienced since Sarah's death: complete peace. The future, which had once seemed like something to be endured, now felt like an adventure to be embraced. And as autumn rain began to tap against the windows, washing the city clean for whatever came next, all three members of the Harrison family slept soundly, securing their love for each other and their hope for tomorrow. But in the shadows of their happiness, neither Michael nor Jessica suspected that the past was about to reach out and test the strength of their newfound family in ways they never could have imagined. 2 years into their marriage, the Harrison family had settled into happiness that felt almost too good to be true. Emma, now 10, had blossomed into a confident artist whose paintings adorned their home. But on a rainy Thursday morning in March, their world began to crack. Jessica was reviewing applications. When her phone rang, the caller ID showed a Chicago number she didn't recognize. Jessica Morrison? The voice was smooth, achingly familiar. Her blood ran cold. It's Harrison now. What do you want? Richard. Richard Blackwood's laugh held no warmth. Congratulations on the marriage. Quite the upgrade from struggling curator to billionaire's wife. How did you get this number? I have my ways. We need to talk. Jess, face to face. We have nothing to discuss. Actually, we do. I've done interesting research on your husband's business practices. Some investors might be very interested in certain irregularities I've discovered. Jessica's heart pounded. What are you talking about? Tomorrow, 2 p.m., the cafe across from your gallery. Come alone, or I start making phone calls to influential people. The line went dead. Richard Blackwood, her controlling ex-fiancé who tried to destroy her career, had found a way to threaten her new life. That evening, Jessica struggled to act normal during dinner. Emma chattered about her upcoming art show while Michael discussed expanding his company. The domesticity felt precious and fragile. You're quiet tonight, Michael observed. Everything okay? Jessica forced a smile. Just tired. Long day. Michael studied her face. Are you sure? You seem distant. I'm fine. Jessica insisted, hating the lie, but terrified of the alternative. The next afternoon, Jessica sat in the cafe, hands trembling around her coffee cup. When Richard walked in, her breath caught. He looked exactly the same, impeccably dressed, devastatingly handsome, radiating dangerous charm. You look good, Jess, he said, sliding across from her. Married life agrees with you. Cut the pleasantries. What do you want? Richard smiled, pulling out a thick envelope. Your husband's company has fascinating financial arrangements, offshore accounts, questionable tax strategies, payments to entities that don't exist. Jessica's stomach dropped. You're lying. Am I? Richard spread documents across the table. I hired a very expensive private investigator. The papers looked official, terrifying. Jessica's knowledge of complex business finances was limited, but the implication seemed clear. Even if any of this were true, what does it have to do with me? Richard leaned forward. I want you back, Jessica. Here's the deal. Come back to Chicago with me, and these documents disappear forever. You're insane. I love my husband. Do you love your stepdaughter enough to see her father destroyed? Because that's what will happen when this goes public. Michael Harrison will lose everything, his company, his reputation, possibly his freedom. Jessica felt sick. This is blackmail. This is love. You have 24 hours to decide. Tomorrow night, either you're on a plane to Chicago with me, or these documents go to the FBI and every major news outlet. As Richard walked away, Jessica sat frozen, staring at papers that threatened to destroy everything, But something felt wrong. Richard had never been patient enough for a 3-year revenge plot. That evening, Jessica made a decision against every instinct screaming at her to protect through silence. "Michael," she said as they sat in their bedroom, "I need to tell you something, and I need you to trust me completely." With shaking hands, Jessica pulled out Richard's envelope. "My ex-fiancé contacted me yesterday. He's trying to blackmail me into leaving you." As Jessica explained Richard's ultimatum, she watched Michael's expression carefully. She expected shock, fear, maybe anger. Instead, Michael started to laugh. "These are good," he said, examining the papers. "Really good forgeries. Whoever he hired knows what they're doing." Jessica stared at him. "Forgeries? Sweetheart, I've been a CEO for 15 years. I know exactly what real financial irregularities look like, and these aren't it." Michael pulled Jessica into his arms. "The question is, why didn't you come to me immediately?" "I was terrified. I thought if there was even a chance it was true, I could handle it alone. We're partners. That means we face everything together. No more secrets." Outside their building, Richard Blackwood sat in a rental car, watching their lit windows with cold satisfaction. Phase 1 had failed, but he'd anticipated that Phase 2 would be much more direct. The next morning brought chaos in the form of Emma's panic scream from the kitchen. Jessica and Michael raced downstairs to find their daughter staring at a photograph slipped under their door. The image showed Emma leaving school the previous afternoon, taken with a telephoto lens. On the back, someone had written, "Such a beautiful little girl. It would be a shame if something happened to her." Michael's face went white with rage. "Call the police." "Now?" "No," Jessica said quickly. "This is exactly what Richard wants. Chaos, fear, public attention. He's threatening our daughter." "Daddy, I'm scared," Emma whispered, tears streaming. "Who took this picture?" Jessica knelt beside Emma. "Someone is trying to scare us, sweetheart, but we're not going to let them succeed." Michael was already calling security. "I want a team on Emma immediately," but Jessica had a different idea. "No, that's letting Richard win. We handle this my way. Your way nearly got us into this mess yesterday. My way is going to get us out of it today. Trust me, Michael. I know Richard better than anyone." 3 hours later, Jessica walked into Chicago's most expensive hotel lobby where Richard was staying. She dressed carefully in simple black, her wedding ring prominently displayed. Richard was waiting in the bar, looking smug. "I knew you'd see reason." "I'm not here to surrender," Jessica said, sitting across from him with a calm smile. "I'm here to destroy you." Richard's expression flickered. "Excuse me?" Jessica placed her phone on the table. "I'm recording this. I've also had an interesting morning researching your recent activities. You're bluffing." "Am I? Tell me, Richard, how did you pay for that private investigator? Because according to your credit reports, you've been struggling financially since your firm lost its biggest clients." Richard's face pale. "That's none of your business. It became my business when you threatened my family. Here's what I know. You borrowed money from very unsavory people to fund this revenge scheme. How could you possibly? Because you were always predictable. Richard, you always took shortcuts." Jessica stood. "Here's my counteroffer. You leave New York today. You never contact my family again. And I won't share what I've learned with your creditors. You can't prove anything." Richard blustered. "Can I? While you were playing detective, I was doing my own research. Your ex-partner was very chatty about why your business really failed." Richard's hands clenched. "You don't know what you're dealing with." "I know exactly what I'm dealing with. A pathetic man who can't accept that a woman chose her own life over his control." She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Richard, if you ever come near my daughter again, you won't be dealing with police. You'll be dealing with my husband." Back in New York, Michael paced their apartment like a caged tiger. When Jessica finally walked through the door, he pulled her into his arms. "Tell me you didn't do anything dangerous." "I did what needed to be done." "Richard won't be bothering us again." "How can you be sure?" "Because I reminded him that bullies only have power when their victims are afraid. And I'm not afraid of him anymore." Emma ran into the room, launching herself at Jessica. "Did you make the bad man go away?" "Yes, sweetheart. He's gone." "Good. Nobody messes with our family." But even as they celebrated, none of them noticed the black sedan parked across the street, or the man inside taking photographs. Richard had indeed left New York, but he hadn't been working alone. 3 weeks later, Jessica opened the gallery to find every piece of artwork destroyed. Paintings slashed, sculptures broken, photographs torn, months of work lay in ruins. This feels personal, Detective Santos observed. Whoever did this took their time. Jessica stood in the chaos, hands shaking. It has to be connected to Richard. We checked. Richard Blackwood is in Chicago. Multiple witnesses verify his whereabouts. Michael put his arm around Jessica's shoulders. Then who? The answer came in a pristine envelope on Jessica's desk. The only untouched thing in the gallery. Inside was a photograph and a note. The photograph showed Sarah Harrison in her hospital bed during final days. Pale but smiling. Someone had drawn a red X across her face. The note read, "Some people don't deserve to be replaced. Stop trying to take what was never meant for you." Jessica's legs gave out. This isn't about Richard at all. Michael took the note with shaking hands. Oh God, I know who this is. Who? Dr. Margaret Crawford, Sarah's oncologist. She was in love with Sarah. After Sarah died, Margaret became obsessed. She sent letters, showed up at the funeral, tried to convince me that Sarah had confided feelings for her. You never told me this. Because I thought it was over. Margaret moved to California 2 years ago. Detective Santos looked up. Doctor, Margaret Crawford was questioned in a stalking case in Los Angeles 6 months ago. The victim was another recent widow. The implications hung heavy. Margaret wasn't just grieving Sarah's death. She was targeting women she perceived as threats to Sarah's memory. We need to find Emma. Michael said suddenly. She's at school, Jessica said. Then her eyes widened. Oh God, if Margaret thinks I'm replacing Sarah. Michael was calling the school, his face growing pale. Emma never arrived this morning. The bus driver said she got on, but she never made it to her classroom. She wouldn't hurt a child, Jessica whispered. Margaret Crawford lost her own daughter 15 years ago, Detective Santos said grimly. Right before she specialized in oncology, Jessica's phone rang, a known number. Jessica Harrison? The voice was educated, refined, chilling in its calm politeness. Where is she? Where's Emma? Emma is safe, for now. She's lovely, so much like her mother. Sarah would be proud. Dr. Crawford, whatever you think you're doing, I'm protecting Sarah's legacy. Do you know what you've done? You've stolen her life, corrupted her daughter's memories. Emma loves her mother's memory. I've never tried to replace Sarah. Lies. I've watched Emma call you Mom. Sarah trusted me with her deepest fears about what would happen to Emma after she was gone. Emma hasn't forgotten Sarah. We talk about her every day. You've erased her, Sarah's room, her clothes, her presence, all gone. Replaced with your things. Tell me what you want. Jessica said desperately. I want you to disappear. Leave New York. Leave that family. And let Emma grieve properly for the only mother she should ever have. And if I don't? Margaret's laugh was soft and terrifying. Then Emma joins her real mother. Tonight, unless you come alone to the address I'm sending. 1 hour. Come alone, or the child dies. The line went dead. Michael grabbed her shoulders. We call the FBI. She has Emma, Jessica said simply. She has our daughter, and she's not rational. So you walk into whatever trap she's set. Jessica looked at the destruction around her gallery. At the photograph of Sarah with the red X. Yes, she said quietly. That's exactly what I'm going to do. The warehouse in Queens was abandoned, the kind of place where screams wouldn't carry. Jessica sat outside, gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles. She'd insisted on coming alone, but Michael and security were positioned nearby, waiting for her signal. Jessica's phone buzzed. Entrance on the east side. Come alone, or watch your stepdaughter die. Jessica entered the vast space filled with shadows and decay. Emergency lighting cast airy pools across concrete floor. Emma, Jessica called out. She's here. Margaret's voice came from the darkness, alive and unharmed, as promised. Emma sat tied to a chair in the center, duct tape over her mouth, but her eyes alert and fierce. Dr. Margaret Crawford stood behind her, one hand on Emma's shoulder. Margaret was smaller than expected, with graying hair and a face that could look kindly in the right light, but her eyes held the flat shine of absolute certainty. Let her go, Jessica said. I'm here. Whatever you want to say it. But Emma doesn't deserve this. Emma deserves to remember her real mother, not the woman who's been systematically erasing Sarah from her life. I haven't erased anything. Emma's room has pictures of Sarah everywhere. We visit her grave together. Lies. Margaret's hand tightened on Emma's shoulder. I've been watching for months. I've seen how you've taken over Sarah's house, her husband, her role. Jessica took a careful step closer. Emma, are you okay? Emma shook her head, her eyes wide but determined. Jessica could see the fight in her stepdaughter's expression. You see? She's not even afraid. That's because you've taught her that love is replaceable. That mothers can be swapped out like broken appliances. That's not true. Emma knows she's loved by many people. That doesn't diminish her love for Sarah. Sarah was my patient for 2 years. She told me everything, her fears, her desperate worry about what would happen to Emma. Then you know Sarah wanted Emma to be happy. Sarah wanted Emma to remember her, to honor her memory. Jessica felt anger flash. I've spent 3 years helping her heal, being there for every nightmare, every moment of joy and sadness. I didn't replace Sarah. I added to the love Sarah started. You know nothing about love. Real love protects. Real love preserves. You're right, Jessica said quietly. Real love does protect. That's why I'm here instead of the police, and that's why Sarah would hate what you're doing to her daughter right now. Don't you dare speak for Sarah. Sarah was Emma's mother. Her greatest fear was that Emma would grow up without enough love. She wanted Emma to have a full, rich life surrounded by people who cherished her. Margaret's hand began to shake. You don't understand. Sarah and I had a connection. She trusted me with her deepest thoughts. You were her doctor. She trusted you medically, but her heart belonged to her family. No, she could have loved me if she'd had more time. She would have realized I was the one who truly understood her. Jessica saw the truth now. Margaret's obsession wasn't about protecting Sarah's memory. It was about her own unrequited love, her grief at losing someone who never belonged to her. Margaret, Sarah's gone. Holding on to this fantasy won't bring her back, and hurting Emma won't make Sarah love you. Shut up, Margaret screamed, pulling a syringe from her pocket. Let's see how understanding you are when you're facing the same choice Sarah did. Jessica's blood ran cold as she recognized the clear liquid. What is that? Potassium chloride. Untraceable if administered correctly. Sarah never had to choose between her life and Emma's happiness, but you do. Margaret moved the syringe toward Emma's arm, and Jessica felt her world collapse into a single moment of choice. Stop, Jessica said, stepping forward with hands raised. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't hurt her. Good. Roll up your sleeve. Don't do it. Jessica, Emma's voice rang out as she worked the duct tape free. She's lying. Mommy Sarah would never want this. Margaret spun in shock, and Jessica lunged forward, grabbing for the syringe. Both women went down hard on concrete. The struggle was brief, but vicious. The syringe skittered across the floor as they fought. Jessica reached it first, her fingers closing around the plastic just as Margaret's hand closed around her wrist. They were locked in deadly stalemate. Let go. This is the only way to set things right. The only way to set things right is to let Emma live. Surrounded by love, Emma had been working at the ropes binding her. Years of art projects had given her nimble fingers. Jessica, Emma called out, throwing a can of spray paint from Margaret's supplies. Catch. Jessica caught it with her free hand, then sprayed contents directly into Margaret's eyes. Margaret screamed and released her grip. Stumbling backward, Jessica kicked the syringe away, sending it sliding into shadows where it shattered. Emma, run. Get outside and find Daddy. But Emma was already running toward the warehouse phone she'd spotted. With quick thinking, she dialed 911. This is Emma Harrison. I'm at the warehouse on Northern Boulevard in Queens. A crazy lady kidnapped me and is trying to hurt my mom. Send police and ambulances. Margaret, half blind from spray paint, fumbled around looking for another weapon. Jessica positioned herself between Margaret and Emma. It's over. Margaret, the police are coming. Emma is safe. Just stop. Margaret looked up with streaming eyes, and Jessica was startled to see not anger, but profound sadness. She was everything to me, Margaret whispered. For 2 years, Sarah was the bright spot. In my day, when she died, I lost everything. Jessica felt unexpected compassion. I understand. Loving Sarah, I see her in Emma every day. But you replaced her. No, Emma said firmly, walking over to stand beside Jessica. Nobody could replace Mommy Sarah, but Jessica didn't try to. She just loved me extra. So I have more love than before, not less. Margaret stared at Emma as if seeing her clearly for the first time. You really still love your first mother every day. Love doesn't run out when you add more people. It just gets bigger. Sirens filled the air as police surrounded the warehouse. Margaret raised her hands in surrender. I'm not armed. The child is unharmed. As they led Margaret away, she stopped and looked back. Tell me the truth. Does Emma really still remember her mother? Emma stepped forward with fearless honesty. I remember everything about Mommy Sarah. Her laugh, her hugs, how she smelled like flowers. But I also love Jessica like family. Because love isn't something you run out of. Margaret nodded slowly, looking peaceful for the first time. Sarah would be proud of you. And maybe she'd understand about Jessica too. Michael finally reached them, gathering both into his arms with desperate relief. Are you hurt? I've been going crazy. We're okay, Daddy, Emma said, though shaking now. Jessica saved me, and I helped save her too. As they walked toward the exit, Emma tugged Jessica's hand. Do you think Dr. Crawford will be okay? Jessica considered seriously. I think she's very sick and sad, sweetheart. But now she can get help. Sometimes loving someone means learning to let them go. Like how Mommy Sarah let us go so we could be happy. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. Exactly like that. 6 months after the warehouse incident, the Harrison family had rebuilt stronger than ever. Margaret was receiving treatment. The gallery had reopened, and Emma had started therapy to process her trauma. On a perfect spring morning, Jessica was preparing for the anniversary exhibition when she noticed Emma acting strangely. The 11-year-old had been secretive for days, whispering with Michael. What are you two plotting? Jessica asked, finding them huddled over Emma's art table, quickly covering their work. Nothing, Emma giggled. It's a surprise, Michael said, kissing Jessica's forehead. You'll find out soon. The anniversary exhibition that evening celebrated everything the gallery represented. Artists whose work had been destroyed had created new pieces, turning trauma into triumph. Jessica stood before the main installation, Emma's latest painting showing multiple figures under a rainbow, with an angel watching from above. The title read, All Our Love. It's extraordinary, said Dr. Hayes, who'd continued working with Emma. Look how she's processed everything. Art truly is powerful therapy. She gets that from both her mothers, Michael said, Sarah's creative spirit and Jessica's courage. As the evening progressed, Jessica noticed Emma becoming excited, checking the doors of waiting for someone special. Emma, who are you looking for? You'll see. They should be here any minute. Michael grinned. I may have invited some special guests. The gallery door opened, and Jessica's breath caught. An elderly woman with silver hair walked in, followed by a younger man who shared Emma's bright smile. Grandma rose. Emma shrieked, launching herself at the older woman. You came. Jessica stared in shock. Sarah's mother, Rose Morrison, held Emma tightly, tears streaming. Oh, my sweet girl, you've grown so much. I've missed you terribly. The man stepped forward with a warm smile. And I'm Uncle David, Sarah's brother. I've been wanting to meet the woman who's made Emma so happy. Jessica felt overwhelmed. She'd heard stories about Sarah's family, but after Sarah's death, they gradually lost touch. The grief had been too much to bear together. I can't believe you're here, Jessica said, voice shaking. Emma, did you plan this? Daddy helped, Emma said proudly. I wrote them letters telling them about you and how happy we are. I wanted them to know that I still love Mommy Sarah, but I love you too, and that's okay. Rose approached Jessica with tears. My dear, I owe you an apology. After Sarah died, I was so consumed with grief that I couldn't bear to see Michael and Emma. But Emma's letters helped me understand that avoiding you all only created more pain. You don't need to apologize. Grief affects everyone differently, but I do. Emma has been writing for months, telling me about our lessons, school plays, birthday parties. She talks about you with such love. I realized I was missing out on watching my granddaughter grow up. Because I was afraid. David nodded. Emma sent us photos from your wedding, from family vacations, from ordinary afternoons. We could see how genuinely happy she is. That's all Sarah ever wanted. Rose took Jessica's hands gently. Thank you for loving my granddaughter so completely. Thank you for honoring Sarah's memory while building your own relationship with Emma. Jessica was crying now, overwhelmed by acceptance she never dared hope for. I love her with everything I have. She's amazing. And so much of that is because of the foundation Sarah gave her. And so much of her continued growth is because of the love you've added. Rose replied. Sarah would be so grateful. Emma tugged Rose's sleeve. Grandma, come see my painting. It's about all of us. Mommy Sarah watching over us while we love each other down here. Rose gasped at Emma's artwork. Oh, sweetheart, this is incredible. You've captured something beautiful. The idea that love multiplies instead of dividing. That's what Jessica taught me, Emma said, matter-of-factly. Love isn't like cake where you run out of pieces. It's like magic. the more you share it, the more there is. Michael appeared beside Jessica, wrapping his arm around her waist. I should have done this sooner. I was afraid they'd see our happiness as betraying Sarah's memory. Instead, they see it as honoring her legacy, Jessica replied, watching Emma excitedly show David every piece in the exhibition. As the evening continued, Jessica found herself in deep conversation with Rose about Sarah, not just her illness and death, but her life, her dreams, her hopes for Emma's future. Sarah used to say that the greatest gift parents could give their children was the security to love freely. Rose shared. She worried that Emma would be afraid to open her heart after losing her. Seeing Emma with you tonight, I know Sarah's spirit is at peace. Near the end of the evening, Emma made an announcement that surprised everyone. I'd have something to say, she declared, climbing onto a chair. Tonight is special because my whole family is together. I want everyone to know that I have the best life ever. Not because nothing bad ever happened, but because when bad things did happen, love helped me get through them. She looked at Jessica. Jessica, you didn't replace Mommy Sarah. You just made our family bigger. You taught me that having more people to love means having more people to help you when you're sad, and more people to celebrate with when you're happy. Then she looked at Rose and David. Grandma, Rose and Uncle David, I missed you so much. But I understand why you needed time to feel better after Mommy Sarah died. Now that you're back, our family is even more complete. Finally, she looked at Michael and Daddy. Thank you for being brave enough to love Jessica, even when you were scared. You taught me that it's okay to be sad about losing someone and happy about finding someone new. At the same time, the entire gallery was silent, moved by the wisdom of this 11-year-old who faced more challenges than most adults. Rose wiped away tears. Emma, you sound just like your mother. She always had the gift of seeing the heart of things clearly. I get that from both my moms, Emma said simply, and Jessica felt her heart nearly burst. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, the extended Harrison family found themselves alone in the gallery, surrounded by art that celebrated resilience, healing, and hope. What happens now? David asked. I don't want to lose touch again. You won't, Michael said firmly. We're family. Families stick together, even when it's complicated. Rose nodded. I like to visit regularly, if that's all right. I want to be part of Emma's life as she grows up. We'd love that, Jessica said sincerely. Emma needs all the love and support she can get. Emma, who'd been quietly sketching while the adults talked, held up her latest drawing. It showed a house with many windows, each one lit up, with different family members visible in each room. This is our house, she explained. See, there's room for everyone. Daddy and Jessica, Grandma Rose and Uncle David, and even Mommy Sarah watching from her special window in the sky. As they looked at Emma's drawing, everyone understood what she'd captured so perfectly, a family that had been broken by loss, but rebuilt by love, stronger and more beautiful than before. 1 year later, on a perfect autumn day exactly 5 years after that first meeting in Central Park, Jessica and Michael renewed their wedding vows in a ceremony. That included Rose as matron of honor and David walking Jessica down the aisle. Emma served as both flower girl and ring bearer, declaring that she was the luckiest girl in the world to have so many people who loved her. As the celebration continued into the evening, Jessica reflected on the journey that had brought them all together. A flat tire, a chance encounter, a gradual breaking down of walls built from grief and fear, challenges that had tested their foundation, and ultimately, the discovery that love really was the one resource that multiplied when shared. Emma, now 12 and wise beyond her years, found Jessica on the terrace overlooking Central Park. Penny for your thoughts, Emma said, using one of Sarah's favorite expressions. I was just thinking about how grateful I am, Jessica replied, pulling Emma close. For that flat tire, for your daddy's kindness, for your open heart, for all of it, I'm grateful too, Emma said. But mostly I'm grateful that you taught me love doesn't have to be scary. Even when people die or leave or hurt us, love is still worth it. As they stood together, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors, Jessica knew that Emma was right. Love was always worth it. The joy, the fear, the vulnerability, the risk. Because in the end, love was what remained, what endured, what made every challenge meaningful and every victory sweet. The Harrison family had learned that happiness wasn't the absence of sorrow, but the presence of love strong enough to carry them through whatever life brought their way. And as the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, they knew that their story was really just beginning. Their journey had taught them that families aren't just born, they're built, day by day, choice by choice, with patience, courage, and most importantly, with love that's brave enough to include, rather than exclude, to add rather than replace, to honor the past while embracing the future. And in that embrace, they found not just happiness, but home.